Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll be talking about electronic components, electronic components and material. So let us start the video. Electronic components and material include, we'll talk about what are the conductor, what is the semiconductor, what is the insulator. Here, as you can see, we will be talking about what is the conductor, semiconductor, and insulator. Apart from that, the magnetic material like magnetic material will be also talking, and then jointing, cleaning material of copper cable and OFC. Cells and batteries, chargeable and non-chargeable. We'll be also talking about relay, switches, MCB, and connectors through this book. Okay, so first is conductor. What a conductor? Material with majority of free electrons are called conductors. See, conductors are those material which can allow the electron to easily pass through it. Okay, so these are called conductors. So conductors have free electrons, so they are called conductor. It allow electricity to pass through it, and it allow heat and electricity both to pass through it. So there are three types of conductors. One is solid conductor, liquid conductor, and gaseous conductor. As we see, what are solid conductors? So they will have the definite shape and size. For example, gold, copper, iron, they are called solid conductors. Let us read this. Solid conductors have a definite shape and size. For example, gold, copper, iron, etc. are solid conductors. Means they have definite shape and size. The next one is liquid conductors. What are liquid conductors? Those conductors which are not stable in shape and have the property of flowing are called liquid conductor. For example, water, silver nitrate means the conductor that are in the form of liquid, and liquid does not have definite shape but they have definite volume. Okay, so they are called liquid conductor. Gaseous conductor. See, no gas is an ideal gas conductor. To make a gas conductor, some amount of salt is added to it so that it gets ionized and behave like a good gaseous conductor. So, gas is not the good conductor, but to make it into the conductor, it is ionized. It is ionized using when we are adding some salt to it. Like some gaseous conductors, for examples, are given as helium, argon, neon are gaseous conductors. Now let us come to the properties of good conductors. What are the properties of good conductors? The conductors should be cheap and easily available. It should be easily available everywhere in the market and in the environment. Okay, the conductor should be ductile. Ductile means it can be turned into duct, means pipe. The conductor should be malleable. The conductor should be malleable. Malleable means the conductor can be uh, can be easily transformed into sheet. That is called malleable. The conductor should be unaffected by the atmospheric influences. Any atmospheric influence is coming, it should not get affected with that. The conductor material should have more conductivity and low resistivity. Obviously, the conductor, the resistance should be low and the conductivity should be high for any conductor. So here we can see, as we can see here, it is given some types of conductors and their properties have given. Here the name of the conductor is given, and its color and or mixture, how it looks, and its resistivity value and its conductivity value, melting point, and the temperature coefficient. Okay, so the first one is silver. Silver looks white. We can see, since it is a conductor, its resistivity is very less, like 1.59 into 10 to the power minus 8. Okay, and its conductivity is very high, like 6.289 into 10 to the power 7. Its conductivity. Now its melting point is given, and its temperature coefficient. So silver is in white color, copper is in dull red, aluminum is in white color, gold in golden yellow, tungsten dark gray, zinc blue gray, brass yellow, and brass is the combination of copper and zinc. Nickel white, iron silvery gray, tin white. Now the next is German silver. So German silver, we can see here, the next is German silver. So German silver is the mixture of copper, nickel, and zinc. Copper in the ratio of 60, 15, and 25. Lead is grey in color. Manganese, it is also the mixture. It is the mixture of copper, magnesium, and nickel. Eureka is the mixture of copper and nickel. Platinum is gray white in color. Mercury silver white in color. Nichrome, it's the mixture of nickel and chromium and carbon. Okay, so these were the different types of conductor that we have seen. Now the next is, let us know about some symbols. The zigzag symbol, as you can see, this is the fixed register. The zigzag symbol and the arrow shown, this is the variable register. The inclined T is the preset, and the zigzag combined with the variable registers, it is the gang register. This is thermistor. This is non-linear register. Non-linear register are those register which do not follow the Ohm's law. Okay. Now this is the case of resistor. Now the same thing is given for the capacitor. This is non-polarized capacitor given by two vertical line, and inclined T given as preset capacitor, two vertical line and arrow given as variable capacitor. This is varactor diode. This is diode, and diode with capacitor, varactor diode, and here is one arrow, means it is variable, so that is varactor diode. Capacitor, variable capacitor with diode is varactor diode. Okay, this is polarized capacitor, and this is very lot of variable capacitors are there, so they are together are called gantt capacitor, and this is fixed inductor. Now let us see the different types of resistors. As you can see, here three different types of resistors are mentioned. Three different types of resistors are mentioned, like carbon composition resistor, carbon and metal film resistor, and wire wound resistor. Carbon composition resistor is made with carbon and clay, and its range is about 20 mega ohm. Carbon and metal film resistor is made with carbon, yes, carbon, and thin layer of metal, and it is also, the range is about 20 megahertz. Both carbon composition and carbon and metal film resistor have the more or less same range. Now, wire wound resistor, how it is made? Wire wrapped around the insulating core, we get wire wound resistor, and this can, the range is up to 100 kilo ohm. Okay. Now the next one is, let us see the different types of capacitor. Some capacitors given here are paper capacitor, polyester capacitor, ceramic capacitor, mica capacitor, and electrolytic capacitor. So how they are named like this? Paper capacitor according to the dielectric that is used. Okay, so since it is paper capacitor, so dielectric used in paper capacitor is impregnated paper. Okay, in polyester capacitor, polyester is the dielectric. In ceramic capacitor, ceramic is the dielectric. In mica capacitor, mica is the dielectric. And in electrolytic capacitor, aluminum oxide is the dielectric. Its different ranges are given here, like 0.0005 microfarad to 10 ohm for paper capacitor, and the same range for polyester capacitor as well. Ceramic capacitor 3 picofarad to 2 microfarad, and for mica capacitor 1 picofarad to 1 microfarad, and for electrolytic capacitor it is 1 microfarad to several thousand microfarad. Okay, so where is the paper capacitor used? It is used in AC, DC, high voltage and high current. Okay, and polyester capacitor is used in tuned circuit and digital computer. Ceramic capacitor is used as coupling capacitor or bypass capacitor. Mica capacitor is used in temperature varying application, and electrolytic capacitor is used in filter circuit and coupling capacitor. So let us now move to the next topic, that is called energy band gap. What is energy band gap? Energy band gap means the gap between the conduction band and the valence band, that is shown as Eg. We can mathematically represent energy band gap as Eg equal to Ec minus Ev, where Ec is the energy level of conduction band and Ev is the energy level of valence band. And here Eg means the forbidden energy gap, the gap between the conduction band and the valence band. So here it is given semiconductor conduction band on the top and valence band in the bottom. The the gap between the conduction band and the valence band is the energy band gap, that is the forbidden energy band gap, and the value, the energy is less than equal to 5 ev for the semiconductor. For the insulator, it is greater than 5 ev, and for conductor, both conduction band and the valence band overlap. Okay, means overlapping is occurring. In metals, the conduction band and the valence band overlap with each other. As we have seen in this diagram, the conduction band and the valence band both are overlapping. Okay, and in insulator, the gap is very high. The conduction band and the valence band, the gap is very high, that is more than 5 ev. And in semiconductor, band gap is really relatively small, and in this one semiconductor, the gap is relatively smaller, that is the energy gap is less than 5 ev. The valence band can never be empty. The lower band that is given here, the valence band, that is never empty, and 1 ev is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. So here we have completed the energy band gap. Okay, so 1 ev is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule, and forbidden energy gap is the gap between the conduction band and the valence band, and it is given as Eg is equal to Ec minus Ev. So yes, let us move to the next topic, that is called semiconductor. Now semiconductor, we know the conductivity lies between the conductor and the insulator. Okay, so in at the room temperature it behaves like, at the 0 Kelvin it behaves like the insulator, and on this is the semiconductor, its conductivity is between the conductor and the insulator. So semiconductors are of three if we categorize, it is of three types: direct or indirect band gap semiconductor, direct or indirect band gap semiconductor, intrinsic or extrinsic semiconductor, elemental or compound semiconductor. What are elemental semiconductor? Elemental semiconductors are those semiconductor where only single element is involved, like only single element is present, like carbon, silicon, germanium, and lead. These are single uh, these are single element, so they are called elemental semiconductor. Compound semiconductor means compound is formed, and for this at least two elements are required, like gallium arsenide, gallium nitride, right? One more is that gallium arsenide phosphide, like gallium. These are also called like gallium arsenide, gallium nitride, gallium GASB, CDS, cadmium sulfide, indium gallium arsenide, zinc sulfide. So these are also the compound semiconductor, means compound is formed. Now, direct and indirect band gap semiconductor. So light is produced in direct band gap. What is band gap? Means when the valley and the hill, like this, when the valley and the hill, they are aligned, so the energy transfer takes place very easily from here to here, right? Where if it is coming down, losing its energy, then the light will light will emit. So this is direct. And when the indirect means the valley and the hill, they are not aligned, means they are in different position. So in this case, the light does not emit, so heat is transferred. Okay, heat is transferred. So light is produced in direct band gap, because we can see the valley and the hill, they are aligned to each other. So when the electrons are losing its energy, so they can emit light. So that is the reason the light is produced in the direct band gap, and heat is produced in the indirect band gap. As you can see, the valley and the hill, they are not aligned to each other. So when the electrons are losing, so the light is not emitting. Okay, so the examples, the direct band semiconductor are gallium arsenide, gallium nitride, and GSB, CDS, INGS, ZNS. Indirect band gap semiconductor, these are silicon, germanium, AL, uh, ALS, ALSB, aluminum arsenide, aluminum antimonite, lead selenite, and gallium phosphide. These are indirect band semiconductor. Now let us read about comparison of intrinsic semiconductor and extrinsic semiconductor. What are intrinsic semiconductor? The pure semiconductor are called intrinsic semiconductor, and extrinsic semiconductor means we are doping something. Means some impurity we are adding to the semiconductor, then we are getting the extrinsic semiconductor. Let us see about it. Intrinsic semiconductor, extrinsic semiconductor. It is a pure semiconductor, right? No impurity is there. Extrinsic semiconductor, it is impure semiconductor, means impurities are added to this. Number of free electron is equal to number of holes. Number of electron and number of holes are equal. Number of free electrons and number of holes are unequal. Here, since the doping is there, so number of electron and number of holes are different. Conductivity is low, conductivity is high. Due to the doping, its conductivity increases. Conductivity depend only on temperature. Conductivity depend both on temperature and impurity. There is no impurity, and here trivalent and pentavalent impurities are added to the semiconductor. The order of the current is in milliampere. Here, the order of the current is in microampere. So since we are saying we are adding impurity to the semiconductor to make it into the extrinsic semiconductor. So that process is called doping. Okay, the process of adding of impurity into pure semiconductor is called doping. Doping increases, then carrier concentration also increases. Here we see the number of electrons and number of holes, they are not equals. So carrier concentration is also increasing because of the doping, because we are adding the extra impurity to the semiconductor. Okay, so what are trivalent impurities? Trivalent impurities, here it is given: boron, aluminum, gallium, indium. In the learning trick, we can say that um, we can say that baigan, aloo, gajar in the jhola, right? And this is the group 4, that is called the semiconductor row, that is silicon and germanium. And pentavalent impurities are like nitrogen is not shown here because we are not using it we use phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth. So for the trick to learn this is nana, patikar, aishwarya, sab, bimar. Okay, so when we add trivalent impurities, we get p type semiconductor. So p-type semiconductor, and we when we add pentavalent impurities for the doping, then we get n-type semiconductor. So these are the donor, and p-type semiconductor are called the acceptor. Now the next is we'll be reading about standard doping level. How do we dope? What is called moderate dope, light dope, or highly dope? See, when the doping is in the ratio of 1 ratio 10 to the power 6 to 10 to the power 8, this is called moderate dope. Okay, moderate dope, N or P type semiconductor. When the doping ratio is 1 ratio 10 to the power 11, then it is lightly doped. When the doping is 1 ratio 10 to the power 3, then it is highly doped. Okay, highly doped. Intrinsic semiconductor 1 ratio 10 to the power 8 means that is moderately doped. We gave extrinsic semiconductor 1 ratio 10 to the power 6, or 1 in 10 to the power 6, or 1 by 10 to the power 6 is read as 1 impurity added in 10 to the power 6 atom. Okay, means 1 impurity added in 10 to the power 6 to 10 to the power 8, we get moderately doped N or P type semiconductor. And one impurity atom in 10 to the power 3 atoms, we get highly doped N and P type semiconductor. So conductor make metallic bond, semiconductor make covalent bond, and insulator make ionic bond. Now we'll be reading about the comparison of N-type and P-type semiconductor. We know how do we make N-type semiconductor and P-type semiconductor. P-type semiconductor from trivalent impurities, and N-type semiconductor from pentavalent impurities. Trivalent impurities like boron, aluminum, and N-type impurities like phosphorus, arsenic. These are N-type impurities. Let us read about it. A parameter. How do we dope? For N-type, we use the doping of pentavalent impurities. For making P-type, we use trivalent impurities for doping. The conductivity of N-type is more and P-type is less. Why? Means because there is extra electron involved. Extra electron is there, and here holes are involved. So the mobility of electron is more. So that is why the conductivity is more for N-type. Impurities. Extra electron known as donor atom is there. Now extra hole known as acceptor atom is there in P-type. What are the charge carrier? Majority charge carriers are electron and minority carriers are hole. In p-type, majority charge carriers are hole and minority carriers are electron. Now, Fermi level of n-type, nearer to conduction band. Since it is extra electron is there, it is nearer to conduction band, and for p-type, it is nearer to valence band. So next now we'll read about Fermi level. What is Fermi level? So Fermi level actually it indicates the carrier concentration. Means where it is the place where the carriers, the concentration of the carrier, it is the level where the concentration of the carriers are more. Fermi level also gives the information that at 0 Kelvin, 0 degree Kelvin, above Fermi level, all the empty and below Fermi levels, all allowed energy levels are filled. Fermi level Fa is given by 1 by 1 plus e to the power E minus Ef by kT, where k is equal to 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 joule per Kelvin. Here E is the energy level, given energy level, and Ef is the Fermi level, K is the Boltzmann constant, and T means absolute temperature. Okay. Bye. Fe represent as the Fermi level that does not give the information about the number of electron in the given energy level and the number of energy level with electrons. At T is equal to 0, when the T is equal to 0 Kelvin in the case 1 means E is very less than Ef, then we'll get Fe is equal to 1 by E plus e to the power E minus Ef by kT. When E is very small, then here we'll get minus infinity e to the power minus infinity means 1 by 1, this value will be 0, so 1 by 1, so 100% we will get F is equal to 100%. And in the case of case 2, when E is equal to Ef at temperature is not is equal to 0 degree Kelvin, then 0 Kelvin, then we'll get Fe is equal to 1 by 1 plus 1 means 1 by 1 plus 1 means 1 by 2 means 0.5, that is 50%. In case of when E is very greater than Ef at T is equal to 0 Kelvin, we find Fe is equal to 1 by 1 plus e to the power E minus Ef by kT. Then E is very greater than means e to the power, then here we will get infinity, that is minus then here we'll get 1 by 1 plus e to the power infinity means here 0 we are getting means 0%. Now let us try to understand energy level diagram. Okay, this is the conduction band, this is the valence band, and this is the energy forbidden energy gap, the distance between the conduction band and the valence band, and here it is given this is the e naught. Here donor energy level means e naught is near the conduction band, means this is for the n type, this energy level diagram is for the n-type semiconductor. And now if we say the this Fermi level, this one is nearer to the valence band, and this is the energy level diagram of p-type semiconductor. Okay, and this is Fermi level is in between, so this is conduction band and valence band, so this is for the semiconductor. So let us read here. The Fermi level in the intrinsic semiconductor lies at the center of the forbidden gap. As we can see, this Fermi level of the Fermi level lies in the center of the forbidden energy gap. So this is the energy band diagram of intrinsic semiconductor. The Fermi level in p-type semiconductor lies above the valence band. Here this is the valence band, just above it the Fermi level lies. So this is the energy band diagram of uh, p-type semiconductor. The Fermi level in n-type semiconductor lies below the conduction band. Now this is the conduction, below the conduction band the Fermi level lies. So this is the energy level diagram for n-type semiconductor. Effect of temperature on Fermi level. When temperature goes on increases, extrinsic semiconductor gradually gets the intrinsic behavior behavior when thermally generated electron concentration dominates the donor electron, so that Fermi level to the mid gap. So when we are increasing the temperature, we find that the extrinsic semiconductor tends to behaves like intrinsic semiconductor, because the thermally generated electron concentration dominates the donor electron, and it pushes the Fermi level to the mid of the forbidden energy gap. Okay. Fermi energy level. The energy of the electron at the 0 Kelvin is called the Fermi energy. Means the energy of the electron at the 0 Kelvin is called the Fermi energy. At the 0 Kelvin, the energy of the electron, there must be some energy of the electron. That energy is called the Fermi energy. Its unit is given as electron volt, and 1 electron volt we know it. How much it is? Here we have read 1 electron volt. Here it is given 1 electron volt is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. So this is 1 electron volt. And this one now we are reading called Fermi level, Fermi energy. So Fermi energy is also here Fermi energy. So Fermi energy is also is shown by electron volt, that is 1.6 into 1 electron volt in a 1 for 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So Fermi energy is equal to maximum kinetic energy of the electron. We know the kinetic energy of the electron is given by half mv square, and from here we can find the value of v, means velocity. Now 2 we can keep it here on the other side by cross multiplication, and I am on the bottom side, and here square is there, then we have to take the root. Then we can get under root 2 e by m. So this is the velocity of the electron. If the Fermi function is given as Fe of any electron, then the Fermi function of the whole is given as, see, both of makes 1. If a Fermi function of electron and Fermi function of whole equals 1, so if the Fermi function is Fe, then the Fermi function of whole will be 1 minus Fe. Okay. Then Eg is the energy band gap. So Eg is equal to kT ln natural log NcNV by Ni square. Okay. Now let us see the semiconductor and its different semiconductor, different types of semiconductor, its Fermi level, Fermi formula, and its Fermi diagram. So intrinsic semiconductor, the Fermi formula is equal to EC plus EV by 2. Why? Because this Fermi level lies in between the the energy forbidden energy gap. Okay. Because the Fermi level lies between the forbidden energy gap, the distance is in the middle, so that's why it is given as EC plus EV by 2 minus KT by 2 ln NC by NV. For n type semiconductor, EF is equal to EC. Why EC? Because the Fermi level is near the conduction band. EC minus KT ln NC by ND. And for p-type semiconductor, EF is equal to EV plus KT ln NV by NA. Why EV? Because the Fermi level is near valence band. Few notes are given, like a semiconductor at absolute zero temperature behaves as a perfect insulator. As we said that at 0 Kelvin, the semiconductor behaves like the insulator. In intrinsic semiconductor, the resistivity, that is the inverse of conductivity, decreases as the temperature increases. With the increase in temperature, as we increase the temperature, the resistivity decreases. Hence the semiconductor have negative temperature coefficient of resistance. Negative temperature means on increasing the temperature, the resistivity decreases, that is the negative temperature coefficient. On increasing the temperature, the resistivity increases, that is the positive temperature coefficient. That is in the case of conductor. Electrical neutrality. N-type and P-type semiconductor are electrically neutral. How? Means Np plus P is equal to Na plus N. Number of donor electron plus positive charge is equal to number of acceptor plus the negative charge. For any p-type and n-type semiconductor, this one is always means the semiconductor is always neutral. Energy band gap Eg is inversely proportional to the temperature. Means with the increase in temperature for the semiconductor, if we say with the increase in the temperature, the resistivity decreases. When resistivity decreases and the conductivity increases, means it have the negative coefficient of temperature. Here germanium is here, silicon and gallium arsenide. At 0 Kelvin, energy band gap at 0 Kelvin, for germanium it is 0.785 EV, for silicon 1.21 EV, and for gallium arsenide 1.52 EV. At 100 degree, at 100 Kelvin, it is 0.72 EV. See, it has decreased, means with the increase in temperature, EV is decreasing. Okay, Eg is decreasing, means energy band gap is decreasing. And for silicon, it becomes 1.1 EV, and for gallium arsenide, it also decreases 1.42 EV. Now let us know about mass action law. What is mass action law? Mass action law is given as Np is equal to Ni square, where N is the concentration of electron, P is the concentration of hole, means the um, product of electron, product of number of electron and the product of number of electron and the number of holes is equal to intrinsic carrier concentration. Okay, is equal to square of the intrinsic uh, carrier concentration. Ni is the intrinsic carrier concentration. Mass action law mostly used for extrinsic semiconductor to find minority carrier concentration. What is the minority carrier in the extrinsic semiconductor? For that we use mass action law. When temperature changes, Ni square also changes. So mass action law not valid when the temperature is changing. Means when the temperature is changing, the mass action law does not hold true. Minority carrier concentration is equal to n Ni square by majority carrier concentration. That we have seen, minority carrier plus majority carrier is equal to Ni square. So minority carrier can be found out as Ni square by majority carrier concentration. Minority carrier depends on temperature, right? And majority carrier depends on doping. Minority carrier concentration is equal to Ni square by doping concentration. We can say, okay. Now thermal voltage. Thermal voltage is given as Vt, that is equal to Kt by Q. Vt is also given by T by 11,600. So Vt is equal to, if we see, it is 26 millivolt. What is Boltzmann constant? It is represented as K, that is equal to 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 joule per degree Kelvin, or 8.62 into 10 to the power minus 5 EV per degree Kelvin. What is diffusion constant? Diffusion constant is given as D. So for electron, dn is equal to mu n into t. Here is the relation that is called Einstein relation. Dn by mu n is equal to dp by mu p is equal to kt by q is equal to vt, where dn is the diffusion coefficient of electron, dp is the diffusion coefficient of hole, and mu n is the mobility of electron, mu p mobility of hole, and Vt is thermal voltage, T means temperature, K means Boltzmann constant. Okay. Now let us see the conductivity. What is conductivity? Conductivity is the inverse of resistivity. So conductivity is shown as sigma, that is equal to Q mu n. Q mu n, and Q and n turns to rho. Okay, rho mu, that is equal to J by E, is the current density. No, J by E. Intrinsic semiconductor, we can say sigma is equal to Ni Q by mu. Ni Q by mu. Extrinsic semiconductor we can give as, for N type it is given as N Q mu N. N Q mu N. And for P type it is given as P Q mu P. The mu n and mu p are the mobility, q is the charge, n and p. Okay, so for intrinsic semiconductor, sigma will be Ni q mu n plus mu p. For minimum conductivity, for p type p is equal to Ni under root mu n by mu p. For n type it will be n is equal to Ni mu p by mu n. For minimum conductivity, condition for p type semiconductor is given as sigma minimum, that is equal to 2Ni under root mu n mu p, and mu n mu p into q, where q is the conductivity, n is the carrier concentration, Ni is the carrier concentration. Here it is given mu n mobility of electron, mobility of holes, and q is the charge. In metal, when temperature increases, mobility of the charge carrier decreases. Therefore, conductivity decreases with temperature. That is true. When the temperature is increasing, mobility of the charge carrier decreases. Why? Means for metal, the resistance increases, that leads to the decrease in the mobility of the carrier, and therefore the conductivity decreases with the temperature. In metal, free electron concentration is independent of the temperature. In semiconductor, conductivity mainly depends on the carrier concentration. How much is the carrier? For that, the conductivity depends for the semiconductor. For 1 degree Celsius, for 1 degree Celsius, germanium, for germanium, if the conductivity increases by 6 degree, for 1 degree increase in germanium, for germanium metal, the conductivity increases by 6%, and for silicon, the conductivity increases by 8%. Now let us see electrical field intensity. Electric field intensity E is equal to dV by dt. Its unit is volt per meter, where dV is the change in the voltage and dt is the thickness of bar. Anywhere of the semiconductor bar field intensity is same. Means field intensity, it remains same anywhere in the semiconductor. Mobility of charge carrier, it is drift velocity per unit electric field. Okay, drift velocity per unit electric field. Its unit can be given as meter square by volt per uh, volt per second, or centimeter square by volt second. It defined how fast the charge carrier travel from one place to another and is given by mu is equal to Vd by E. This is the formula for drift velocity. Okay. Here mu is the mobility. Okay. Vd is the drift velocity and E is the electric field. So mu is given as Vd by E. So drift velocity is equal to mu E. Okay, mu E. Mobility. Electron mobility is given as mu n. Electron mobility we see here, it is always greater for germanium also. Germanium see here, and for here this is the hole mobility, that is always smaller than the electron mobility. And here in the case of silicon also it is 1300, and here for the hole mobility it is 500. For gallium arsenide we can see the electron mobility is more, it is always more for any element or any compound semiconductor. So 4600 here for electron mobility, and hole mobility is only 400 centimeter square per volt second.